NFL commentator and former quarterback Cam Newton ranted on Tua Tagovailoa this week. Well, that's crazy. You know, Tua's name is unpronounceable, and Cam Newton's words are undecipherable. The Philadelphia Eagles continue to employ the controversial play called the tush push. Wow. Yes, despite calls for the play to be banned, they keep on using it as they did against the Rams this past Sunday. But you can't really blame Philadelphia for liking the tush push. I mean, that is the city of brotherly love. The 0-3 Jets face off against the 0-3 Dolphins this week. Quick, somebody see if either of these teams can fog a mirror. You know, the downside of this matchup this week is that despite their best efforts, one of these teams will actually have to win the game. NHL preseason continues, in case any of you weren't aware. And I know you weren't, because I had to go to 4chan to find hockey scores. Hello and welcome to the show. Thank you again for tuning in. Yes, it's another week of football behind us, week 4, and how fast is time going by? The NFL season in full swing already. And of course, MLB heading quickly towards the playoffs. That is going to be something that we are going to enjoy watching. And as we stated before, the NHL is getting into a lot of really good preseason games. I saw the Kings and the Golden Knights the other night. That was a great game. Yes. Well, let's get right into the picks. Yes, 6 picks, 4 from football and 2 from baseball. You know, last week I went 6 for 6 on winners and 3 for 6 on the over-under. Yeah, 6 for 6 on winners. That's what I call beginner's luck. All right, so let's get right into it. The Chargers and the Giants. The Chargers go into New Jersey to face off against the Giants. This is going to be one of the morning games, and it's going to be very interesting because, of course, Jaxson Dart is being put in as a starter to replace Russell Wilson. Yes, the fans have been clamoring for Jaxson Dart for quite some time now, and he's finally going in. This ought to be interesting. Can he save that coaching staff and Coach Dable from being fired, from being sent on their way, given their walking papers? No, we don't know how that's going to be. Usually rookie quarterbacks have a real hard time of it. The New York Giants don't have a good offensive line. We have the Chargers 34-17 over the Giants. They're 6.5-point favorites. But I think they're going to do better than that. They're going to win by 17. And we're picking the over on this one because 51 beats 43.5 that they're giving us. Pardon me. Next, we have the Colts at Rams. Yes, the Colts looking to be 4-0. They're 3-0, and they're going into LA to face a very angry Rams team who lost on the last play in Philadelphia last week. Now, the Rams are 3.5-point favorites in this game, but Daniel Jones has been playing exceptionally well. Yeah, he's showing echoes of Johnny Unitas there for the Colts. And we've got this game going 37-34. The Colts are going to edge the Rams by 3 points. Yes, the Rams are 3.5-point favorites, but the Colts are just going to get 3 on them. 37-34, Colts win in LA in a tough game. And we're picking the over because they're giving us 49.5 points on this one. Let's move on to the Bears at Raiders. Yes, the Bears. Chicago travels to Las Vegas. The Raiders are 1-point favorites. It's a little surprising to me. I'm going to say the Bears are going to win 24-20, and we're going to pick the under on this one. They're giving us 47.5 points. There's only going to be 44 points scored in this game. Lastly, the Packers are going into Dallas to face off with the Cowboys. Yes, the Packers are 6.5-point favorites. That's quite a bit. But they're going to win by more than that. They're going to win by 28 points. I got the Packers with Jordan Love going in there to win 40-22. So we're picking the over. Yes, major over. It's going to be 66 points put on the board. The over of 46.5, which is what they're giving us. So those are all the games that we've got going this week, interestingly, in football. But now let's get to the 2 games of baseball. You know, we're winding down the season. We're getting down towards the end here. October baseball. One of my favorite things to do is come home after a long day of work, you know, ease back in the easy chair and watch a little Dodgers, you know, watch a little Yankees. I'm a Dodger fan, but I'll watch any team. Yeah, this week we're going to pick 2 games we've got going on here. The Orioles, who have been really surprising lately, they're doing really well. They're in Yankees home turf, and the Yankees are 1.5-point favorites. This is, of course, the Saturday game that I'm picking here. Yeah, the Orioles at Yankees. The Yankees are 1.5-point favorites in this game. I've got the Yankees winning 6-3. They're going to win by 3 points. And I'm picking the over because 9 points beats the 8.5 that they're giving us on this. Now, the Yankees, I think, are going to put it together at the end of the season here. I think Stanton is going to be a big-time hitter, continuing to be a big-time hitter at the end of the season here. The Yanks are going to be a very strong team heading into the postseason, whether wild card or, you know, better than that. But don't sleep on the Orioles. They're a really good team. Still, Yankees are going to win 6-3. We've got the Reds at Milwaukee Brewers. Yes, the Cincinnati Reds. The very first team, by the way, this is a piece of trivia. The Cincinnati Reds were the very first official professional baseball team. So they go way back to the beginning of baseball history in this country. Now they're facing off with the Milwaukee Brewers, who are 1.5-point favorites. This is, of course, the Saturday game. I've got the Reds beating the Brewers 3-2, and we're going to take the under, looks like, because they're giving us 7.5 points on this game. So that's it. 6 games. You know, the Chargers are going to beat the Giants. The Bears are going to beat the Raiders. The Colts are going to beat the Rams. The Packers are going to beat the Cowboys. That means we're taking all the away teams in our 4 NFL picks. Okay, we'll see how that goes. We'll see if our beginner's luck runs out this week. And, of course, we've got the Yankees winning at home, and we've got the Reds winning on the road when they go into Milwaukee. Those are the picks. Let's see how it goes. Thank you guys for watching that. Of course, gamble and game. What else is going on in the sports world? Of course, everybody's talking about the Ryder Cup, which is being held at Bethpage Black there in New York. I think maybe Long Island. I'm not sure. Famous golf course for its degree of difficulty. You know, the Ryder Cup is a competition between Europe and the U.S. That's what makes it more interesting than your typical golf event. I've never been a big fan of golf, but it is fun to go out and play. And I, of course, have my Happy Gilmore Subway Cup as well as Shooter. Yeah. Little pro tip. When they're giving these cups away and you go in, tell them to give you an extra cup so you can, a regular cup so you can put your soda in it, and that way you don't have to dirty your collector's cup. Oh boy, look, it's got the Subway and Netflix logo on there. Oh boy. Yeah. Happy Gilmore was a great movie. I still haven't seen part 2. I got to get on that. What am I waiting for? I was watching some preseason hockey the other day, and I was having a good time with it because the Kings were hosting, or actually I think they were in Las Vegas, faced off against the Golden Knights. You know, I love the LA Kings. I'm a big fan of all LA teams. But I also appreciate other towns with their teams. And Las Vegas Golden Knights are a very good franchise to have in hockey. You know, hockey's got a number of franchises that I don't even recognize because I haven't been watching. So they got like the Krakens. I don't know where they're from. It's an interesting, or Kraken. I believe it's a singular usage. Yeah, I'm going to get excited about hockey this year. Matter of fact, I want to go see some snow this year. You know, some ice and some snow. And living here in California, it's very rare that we get winter conditions. Some of you around the country take them for granted. Of course, we take for granted the ability to leave our house because of the lack of snowstorms. Oh my gosh! So Cam Newton was ranting on Tua, and I cannot tell you, I couldn't understand a single word that Cam Newton was talking about. I really couldn't. It was like garbled, disjointed gibberish. Him and I should get along, if you ever watch this show. Of course, the big story this week is Jaxson Dart, and can he save the Giants coaching staff from being thrown out on their keisters? Yes, because the Giants, are beyond lackluster. They are a disaster as far as football teams go. And the same can be said about the New York Jets. New York has a proud tradition, especially the New York Giants. It's kind of strange that they can't put it together lately. As far as the NFC East is concerned, I believe that the Washington Redskins are the team to watch. Jaden Daniels will be healthy eventually, and he's not your typical rookie quarterback. Jaxson Dart could do well by studying the example of Jaden Daniels, because here's a guy who started as a rookie, made all the right moves, performed on the field like a seasoned veteran, like a calm, collected pro. Jaxson Dart's going to have to do that. He's going to have to be a miracle quarterback just for the Giants season to be salvaged. That's one of the big stories this week. Of course, I think the other big story is going to be the Colts with Daniel Jones going into LA to face a very tough Rams team. I mean, Matthew Stafford is unstoppable. Nakua, I think it's Nakua. He's a once-in-a-generation type receiver. The Rams always seem to have some tools in place to make a run, to make an honest and good run for the playoffs or for the postseason. But I think Daniel Jones and the Colts are the real deal. I think they're going to come to LA and they're going to prove that they are worth every bit of the 4-0 that they will be after this week. We'll see how that goes. That's all we can do at the end of the day. That's all we can do is we'll see, right? All right. And I guess finally we'll wrap it up with, like I was talking about Daniel Jones resembling Johnny Unitas. I love historical football, all the NFL films, the old reels. It's just one of the things that I love about this tradition is that you get to see the old films of these old players. You get to appreciate. It's like music, There's like this old music that was recorded in the 40s and the 50s. And we can appreciate it nowadays because it was preserved for posterity. Same thing with NFL films and college football and, boxing. And all these old films are a fantastic glimpse into the history of sports. But anyway, 40 years ago, September 28th, this Sunday is going to be the 28th, and 40 years ago, Tennessee Volunteers upset the number 1 ranked Auburn Tigers in college football. Yeah, and what's interesting about that game is that a very young Bo Jackson, playing for the Auburn Tigers, was held to just 80 yards rushing. I thought that was really interesting. A slow day when you're Bo Jackson is just 80 yards. Well, some of us are supermen and some of us are just normal men. You guys take care of yourselves out there. Thank you again for all of your support. Hit that like button, the subscribe button. It really helps out the channel tremendously. And watch some football, watch some baseball. Enjoy your weekend.